Hi everyone, good evening. Um, I hope you're fine. Okay, so we are getting right to it. Good evening. This is MJ. For those of you watching me for the first time, I am a content creator, nursing content creator, a coach. I have a YouTube channel, Nurse MJ TV, where you can get to watch free videos, free resources. You don't have to subscribe to my channel or be a member to watch. You can just go there and watch and leave if you like. But I'm just saying this so you know that that's where I have free resources for you to access. I'm also quite active on my Instagram and TikTok, on Facebook, so you can always get access to premium content. And just quickly before we start today's session, if you're a registered nurse from any country outside of the United Kingdom, outside of the United States, and you're interested in migrating to this country, I'm just talking, I don't even know if you can hear me. Well, I hope you can. If not, I've just been talking to myself. So, if you're a registered nurse that you want to practice outside of, from outside of the UK, from outside of the United States, you want to migrate to this country to practice, I've got a video guide coming up very soon. It's going to be out pretty soon, and I don't want you to miss it. Okay, glad you can hear me, Chisholm. I don't want you to miss it. So, in order for you to know as soon as this guide drops, make sure you're following this page. You know, you're subscribed to my YouTube channel so that you get the update as soon as it drops. You don't get to miss out. Okay, so I have a guest today again. I'm sure a lot of you, if you were on this live, on my live chat last weekend, you would probably have met her. And together we're going to be discussing how to study nursing for free in the United Kingdom. I know that I talk about this a lot. I even shared a video recently, and a lot of people were just dropping their think pieces on that post. And I just thought, let me bring not just me, let me bring another, a senior nurse, an experienced nurse in the United Kingdom to come in and have this conversation with me together and enlighten you all. So, again, welcome. Welcome, my guest. If you're Lua, you guys should drop love emoji for her. Like, let her know that we
I
are lovely
laugh.
people here.
I laugh
Drop
when you call
love,
me senior nurse.
drop love emoji for her right now. Let her feel the love in the building because it takes a lot to come on the live session and talk to strangers with your
Yeah,
free time.
it does.
Like time is money in the United
Hi guys.
Kingdom. And guys, I wanna plead to you, please buy badge so that I can send that token to be on this live session.
I
Buy
mean,
her a badge so that
huh,
I can buy her a Benz.
I would love that.
So guys, if you're Loa, thank you so much. Introduce yourself to the audience. They are here for you, not for me, I'm sure.
Hi guys, my name is
Let's go.
Iyaniwura. I'm the community lead at Safe Haven Community, which is a community that supports and empowers international educated nurses and midwives in the UK. I'm also a registered nurse myself. And yes, I think
You're
that's
not
it.
done.
What
You're
else?
active on YouTube,
Oh
you're
yes,
on
I have a
Instagram.
YouTube. I have a YouTube
Uh,
page as well. So
uh,
I share a lot of information around
mhm.
anything related to nursing, midwifery. You will find me there.
Career
You will
upgrade. You want to
career
know how to
upgrade. You want to,
transition.
you want to know how to transition from the bedside to the non-clinical roles. You want to understand how career progression, even with clinical roles,
Mhm.
bedside, whatever it is, anything that you're literally struggling with in terms of your nursing career, your nursing journey,
Yeah,
you will
she's your guide,
find me
guy.
there.
She's your guide, and she's so good at it. And I think what separates her from everyone else that does this kind of thing, is that her passion. She's so passionate about supporting
Mm,
nurses, especially internationally educated
yeah,
nurses. I
I
do not
am.
know what we buy from our hands that she loves us like this, you know.
It's just
So,
I don't like unfairness.
mm-hmm,
Do you get what I mean? And
mm-hmm,
I feel like international educated nurses are disadvantaged already when they come into the
mm-hmm,
system, and
mm-hmm,
you're already disadvantaged. You now also don't understand how to work it. Like three things is working against you at the same time,
mm-hmm,
you know. So I just want to see, especially when they're not involved in the decision making.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there when things are being done, when things are being said. They're just showing up at work every day, not really,
Mm-hmm.
really being involved. I'd like to see
Exactly.
more
And you're one of
international
those
educated
nurses,
nurses.
you're one of those nurses that pushed me. See the way you pushed me. Anytime I say, God, sis, am I ready for this? Go for
Go
it.
for it.
Am I ready for this? Go for
Go
it.
for
You know,
it.
when you have that kind
Go
of
for
support
it.
and you're like, okay, let me
Go
go
for
for it.
it. You
It
can
just
do anything.
the inspiration, the
You can
motivation.
do
You're
anything. Yeah.
amazing, sis.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
So let us get to it. We're talking about how to study nursing for
Mhm.
free in the UK. You know, this topic, when I mention free, like, huh? Is it a lie? No, I mention them. It's not possible. It's impossible. Okay, calm down.
It's
Calm
possible.
down.
It's possible.
Let
It
us
just
talk. And
depends on, and I don't
a lot
know
of
why
factors. We're
people
gonna
just,
get to it soon.
yeah.
Someone is saying, "Oh, reply comments." I am on a live session right now. Obviously, I cannot reply comments. And
If you
if you
have a
have questions,
question, just put it in the question
yeah,
section.
if you
It's
have a
not.
question on your phone or whatever device you're using to watch this live, I hope it's the same. On the bottom right corner, the right corner, you're gonna see four icons. So
Mm,
if you want me to respond to any question that you have, use the icon with a question mark to drop your question. So because that makes life easier for all of us, okay? So please use the question icon to drop your questions.
mm,
I won't be scrolling down to respond to
mm.
comments, and I cannot go on my page to respond to comments right now, okay? So let us get to it because we have very short time to be here. So let's start. Let's start with how nursing is in the United Kingdom. What is nursing
The
like
history.
in the
Okay.
United Kingdom?
If I want to talk about the history, I mean, I will talk about it from my understanding of when I came into the country.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came into the country, nursing was not open to the international community.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're coming in with, maybe it depends on the kind of visa you have as well. If you're, let's say, when I came in, I was on a what we call dependent of an HSMP visa holder at the time, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I'd say, which is like the equivalent of the tier two visa that we have now. It was a kind of visa that they were giving to professionals in Nigeria, like healthcare. My husband was an healthcare professional at the time, so that was how he came, and I was his dependent at the time. So, but fortunately for me, I got my ILR real quick. I got my ILR like the following year because he's already lived in the UK for 5 years, so it was already due. So when we applied, I got my ILR within the first year of coming into the
Mm-hmm.
UK. So I thought, okay, well, let me quickly go and do my nursing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it didn't work like that because I was then told that because I've not lived, so it was two things. There are two things you needed at the time to get funding. Again, at the time, nursing was free.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't pay school fees. The NHS funds it
Mm-hmm.
through the government.
Mm-hmm.
So when I applied, they then told me that because I had not lived, this was in 2012. My first application was in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that because I've not lived in the UK for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
I can't get that funding, that I had to wait till I've been in the UK for 3 years, or I will pay as a foreign student.
Okay.
At the time, foreign student fees was, for the uni that I was gunning for, I think it was about £8,000. It was not even as expensive as it is now. But I'm like, first and foremost, I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, if I wait another year, this is free.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, I will wait there, you know. So I waited. So I didn't start uni until January 2014. So by
Mm-hmm.
January 2014, by December 2013, I had spent that 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So by January 2014, in fact, they deferred it. So they still held my
Oh,
admission,
okay.
they just deferred it. So at the time, the moral of this story is that at the time that I came into the
Mm-hmm.
UK, nursing was free for people who have lived in the UK for 3 years and people who were British citizens or people who have the settled status, which is what we call in indefinite leave to remain. Now,
Now,
Fast forward,
now we are starting the main discussion, okay?
yes. So
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to 2015, the conservative government decided that we can't afford to fund this degree anymore. All of you go and borrow money for student loan like everybody else
Mm-hmm.
and pay for your own school fees by yourself. So
Mm.
what then happened is, of course, the number of people that were applying. In fact, I remember the first year that they did that, the application dropped by 50%.
Before,
Everybody was like, I'm not doing nothing again. So applications dropped. So a lot, and in the UK, universities are not funded by the government. University, most universities are non-profit organizations,
okay.
right? So they fund themselves by donations and school fees.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So again, it makes me sad when people think that UK universities are overpriced. To be fair, in their defense, they are not, because think
Mm-hmm.
about it. All the things that you see when you go to uni, the library, the staffing, the
Mm-hmm.
lights, the lecturers, everything that you see is actually funded by those school fees.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, they're not getting any stipend, but they're not getting anything, or like maybe alumni donations and I don't think alumni donations is that much.
Okay.
So a lot of universities are funded by school fees. So of course, when applications are now dropped by 50%, they have to start looking for like creative ways to now fund themselves. So what they now did is a lot of universities now started opening nursing up to international community. And I think the reason why as a nurse you couldn't do nursing as an internal, you couldn't apply for nursing from Nigeria. Do you understand? Like the way you would apply for every other course,
Mm-hmm.
nursing was one of those courses that you couldn't apply for at the time, because once you finish nursing, once you finish your degree in
Mm-hmm.
the UK, you get your NMC pin.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Which then means that you are a UK registered nurse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at the time the rationale for it is you have to be settled in the UK before you can work.
Mm-hmm.
So what a lot of so that's why they couldn't really, do you understand? They couldn't. So it's almost like if you're a UK registered nurse, you can't go and be using your license do you understand, in Nigeria? Because of
Mm-hmm.
course we all know that when people come to study in the UK, they expect them to go back and use their degree
But
in their own
unlike
country, unlike
others,
nothing. Do you
yeah.
understand? Where
Mm-hmm.
that degree
License
is
is
not
for you in
useful for
UK.
you. It's for UK.
Mm-hmm.
It's not useful for you in Nigeria, because if you have to then convert it, oh gosh, don't ask me about it. It's a long journey. So I think that was why they didn't open it up. But like I said, universities were now forced to like, we need to look for money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's open this thing up to the international community. So from like 2017 upward, 2016, 2017, people started, it was not out there,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew a select few that that was doing 2 + 2 = 100. They saw it, they applied for it. They came in
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to finish their degree, get their PIN number, and actually get sponsorship, even when sponsorship was not popular.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
all as in 2016, 2017, they were very short of nurses. Do you understand? Like,
Mm-hmm.
terribly short. International recruitment was not this loud.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? So they were able to, in fact, um, a lot of Indians did it,
Mm-hmm.
so they were able to quickly use, and I know, to be honest, I know one or two, three Nigerians that also did it,
Mm-hmm.
who came in through that route, and they got their sponsorship really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that was how, of course, it became, and then of
It's in.
course, until
Mm-hmm.
what it is, until what we now have now, where it is now a thing now
Mm-hmm.
that international students can come in and just study nursing. Once they get their nursing, they can apply for their PIN number, and of course, they can then,
Mm-hmm.
start working in the UK. So far as you get an hospital that will sponsor you,
Mhm.
So I think
Beautiful.
from 15, 16 years ago till now,
Mhm.
that is how the whole nursing education thing has evolved in the UK.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That was wow. Interesting.
I know.
What an history.
I know.
Okay, so now I want us to look at the topic now. So I want us to focus on those who are here in the
Mhm,
UK
mhm,
and they want to study nursing. So I've gotten a lot of people reach out to me. Oh, I'm a support worker. I want to study nursing. I don't have the fund. How can I get to do this? You know, I'm a care assistant. How can I get to do this? I'm in the banking sector. Can I do this? You know, what are the opportunities available? What are the
mhm,
different routes available if you want to study nursing for free, fully sponsored in
mhm,
the UK now?
mhm, mhm. That thing that you've said, I've seen a lot of different, how do I say it? I've heard lots of different arguments
Mhm,
about it, where some people will say, no, it's not possible. Some
mhm,
people say, yes, I did it. I
mhm,
think personally, I
mhm,
don't think it's a one cap fits all
mhm,
situation anymore,
mhm,
right? And it doesn't also mean that the people that have done it and were not successful, they haven't done anything wrong. It could just be that their trust did not know what they're doing
mhm,
and they could not really push for them to get that funding. So I've seen again when I was back in the day,
mhm,
that I'd even say maybe till 2017, if you want to be funded for higher education by a
mhm,
trust, there are still certain criteria that they expect you to fill because remember that the funding is just the funding from the trust.
mhm,
They are still universities still need to do their own bits and pieces. Now, if it depends on where that funding is coming from.
mhm,
If the funding comes from different sources,
mhm,
funding can come from NHS England,
mhm,
funding can come from Public Health England
mhm,
when it was still Public Health England,
mhm.
and
No, you skipped. I think maybe a call came in.
okay, can you guys hear
I
me
can
now?
hear you.
Okay,
Just need to repeat what you said
okay, so
earlier.
I said funding can come from different
Mhm,
sources. Funding can come from NHS England,
mhm,
funding can come from Public Health England, funding can come from Student Finance England. Funding can come from charity organizations that are interested in the cause.
mhm,
You know, like the NIHR
mhm,
funds a
mhm,
lot of master's degree for clinical
mhm,
research for nurses. Do you
mhm,
understand? So funding
mhm,
can come from different sources. So
mhm,
sometimes, and those funding have different requirements.
mhm,
Does that make sense? So
mhm,
if your organization is funding something. Do you understand? They're funding a program for you, and you don't meet the requirements for the funders, they
mhm.
won't give you.
Aha.
Does that make sense? So I'll give you an example. I remembered when I wanted to do my midwifery program. So the midwifery program that I wanted to do at the time, the way it worked was that you will apply as an apprentice midwife.
Mhm,
Does that make sense? So it means that you will be employed by a trust
mhm,
and you will be getting paid as a band five nurse.
mhm,
And you will also your education will be funded by NHS England, right? And you have to work for the trust for 2 years when you finish the course. So
mhm,
that was the contract that we all
mhm,
signed.
mhm.
I remember that one of the ladies had to drop off because I think she didn't have ILR or
Okay.
she hadn't lived in the UK for. I can't remember what the situation
Mhm,
was, but I know that what she didn't meet one of the
okay.
requirements for. And bear in mind that she had passed the interview, they've signed contracts, she had already attended classes
Mhm.
before they said, "Oh, sorry."
You don't have this. Mhm,
Do you understand? So it's about one of the things I would say to anybody is there's so many sources of funding. You just need to find out who is funding whatever in your trust or in your organization. It is easier with private organizations because with private organizations, they don't really, those ones, they get their funding from like charities or external sources. So the criteria is usually not that. So even if you don't have ILR or you don't have, you will, I know a lot of people that have done like their nursing degree through private care homes or private mental health institutions, and they didn't have ILR, they didn't have, they didn't have some certain things that is required of other organizations. So it's you have to literally just look at who is funding what, before we all now lump everything together under the same. So that is why I
Government.
said I
Yeah.
think what a lot of YouTubers are doing is that they're just lumping things together, which is really interesting, But I always complain
Is
about
that not why
this.
you left us?
I always complain about all those information that people just, I'm like, you've not researched this thing properly, you're just lumping things together. So that being said, if you're like an healthcare assistant in the UK and you want to study nursing, for example, um, one of the things that I would ask you to find out is there are organizations that are funding for like healthcare. They call them band four. What are they called? I'm sorry. Ah, nursing associate.
Okay, yeah, nursing associate, yeah.
So at the moment, I don't know. I've not really looked into it until I don't think nursing associate is still even being put out there
Okay.
on university portals to say,
Okay.
okay, apply. No, I think nursing associate is still being funded through the grassroots, through, do you understand? So most nursing associates that you see, they have been funded by their trust or by their organization. So I think that is one of the easiest pathways to become a nurse without paying right now, especially if you don't have your ILR or you don't have, or you've not lived in the UK for 3 years. Do you understand? Find out if your trust is funding nursing associate
Associate.
roles.
And what's nursing
Again,
associate?
nursing
I mean, what's
associate
the
was,
limitations?
to be fair, nursing associates are nurses who, how do I
I would say who
explain
have
this? Okay,
limited roles
they
because I've worked with quite a
they
few
do
of them.
have limited, so they can't work in ICU, they can't work in theaters, they can't work in any, but they can work on the wards, And even whilst they're on the wards, they can do everything they're literally in charge of because they have PIN numbers as well. So everybody's accountable for the care that they're providing. But I think they can't do IV medications. They can't catheterize. They can't, I think they can cannulate.
Oh, person when the nursing associate said they cannulate
They can
an A
cannulate,
and
but
E.
I think that they can countersign. Thank you. People are already even answering us. They can countersign. You people should give us Jerry. They can countersign CDs. They can. I'm loving this. People are
I'm
already
loving the
telling
engagement.
me what they can do and what they can't do. So yeah, they can countersign CDs, but they
So
can't
it's a
do.
good way to
They
start.
they do everything. Fitness 2.37 just said they actually
A lot.
do everything. But the reason why I think a lot of, again, remember that funding for nursing dried up in 2015, right? So a lot of people,
Became a desert.
the way to boycott the whole applying for student finance loan is to then do the nursing associate because I know it's a longer route. It takes you about 5 years now to become a nurse because if you've done nursing associate for 3 years, it depends on your organization. Sef. I hear
I
some organizations
know
is four
someone that did it for
years.
2.
Some
I
people
think it
did it for four.
depends on how
It
long you've been
depends
working.
on how long you've been working there. So again, these things are not one way traffic.
Exactly, because when I see people and they're just coming,
It's
you have to be 3 years.
no,
The government must this. I'm like,
no. It
someone even asked
depends
me,
on your
when did you enter
organization.
UK? I said last night with like night boss from Yaba.
They'll be all right. So it literally just depends on your organization. But I always say to people that for people that have now been in the UK, but they haven't gotten their ILR, like I keep saying,
Mm.
one of the easiest ways to get funding to become a nurse is to start as a nursing associate. Again, I also heard
Mm.
and I've seen people that have done it, and I think that I don't know why people are so fixated on England.
Scotland, Wales.
Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, they have a totally different set of rules for these things.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, in Wales, you don't need to have lived in Wales for 3 years. You don't need to, they literally fund you regardless of your status. Do you understand? So I think if you're really genuinely want to do it, look outside of England. Look at Wales, look at Northern Ireland, look at Scotland.
Please, let's continue talking. Don't look at the screen. Just keep up.
You saw my face,
Please, just
right? Yeah.
let's focus.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Look at Wales. Look at Northern Ireland. Look at everywhere else
Mm-hmm.
except England. England has the most ridiculous rules when it comes to these things. Honestly, Northern Ireland is still better. Scotland is much better because those areas, a lot of people don't really use those funding in those places, so they are quite flexible, if
Mm-hmm.
you get what I mean. They're quite flexible with their own rules.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, don't stay in England, don't especially if you're single and it's not like you have kids, you can move around, you're
Okay.
flexible. I'd say look outside of England,
Mm-hmm.
look into
Good.
Wales, look into Scotland, and look at
Mm-hmm.
Northern Ireland.
All right. So, are there any other, apart from you looked at nursing associate we've talked about. So let's just talk about the general requirements. So let's leave aside, oh, you have to have lived in the UK,
Mhm,
Kiniko. What is
mhm,
like the basic, apart from the other restricted requirement, for other, depending on the funding, you've informed us about different fundings, and that's why different fundings have different criteria for you to
mhm,
apply.
mhm.
Okay, so now what is the common requirements with all this funding? What is the most common, the basic requirements with all of this funding? Is there a common ground?
Make sure that, so if you want to do it, um, if you don't have, so for people who already have degrees, let's say you've already have a degree, but your degree is not science related or your degree is not within the healthcare space,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say if you really want to do it, don't go and be working in Tesco or Sakanda or
Mm-hmm.
Halifax. You have to be working in the care sector.
Good.
And one of the things I would also suggest is make sure that you've done maybe MVQ level 3
And what's
or
NVQ? That
is
is that not the
National
national vocational
Vocational
something? Yeah.
Qualifications in
Mm-hmm.
health and social care or in healthcare related. Now, I think people also, I did a video
Mm-hmm.
around NVQ, and so I've seen a lot of different things. NVQ is not RCF.
What's that?
RCF is another qualification, like that you can just, it's not the
Mm.
same.
Sister,
I
let's
don't
come
have
back.
my notes
My
here,
sister,
so
please
I
let's come
can't.
back. Let's come
So we
back
should
to
come to this. So I would suggest that, of course, you've done your care certificates, you've done you've done your NVQ at least level
mm-hmm.
2 or level 3. If your employer is not funding it,
Mm-hmm.
self-fund it always comes in handy.
Mm-hmm.
So this phlebotomist thing, I think just put your question. I'm not sure what you
Don't
mean by what about
don't
phlebotomist.
don't look
You
at the
said I
screen.
should
If
not look at the screen
if you
anymore.
have
I
a
need to look at
question,
the
use the
screen.
question icon. We'll be starting the question session soon because she'll be rounding up soon.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
So,
yeah,
so I need you to have
MVQ,
had your
be
NVQ level
in
3,
the healthcare
be
sector.
in the healthcare sector, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, this is for people. who don't have health-related degrees.
Mhm.
If you already have a health-related degree, let's say you're a physiotherapist, or you've had like health and social care degree, or you've just had one health-related degree, you've just not been able to register in the UK, you're
Mhm.
good to go. You don't really need any extra NVQ or anything. Your degree and your SSC, your WAEC is good
Mhm.
enough.
Beautiful. So that's just the basic. Now, if you are within the healthcare sector, let's say you're already in the healthcare sector working as a care assistant, how do you get to access this kind of information and how to go about it? So, for instance, I'm a care
Mm,
assistant now and I want to
mm,
become a nurse. Where do I start
mm,
from?
mm.
Where's my water?
That's a very interesting question. I would speak to the practice educator in your
Mhm.
ward
Mhm.
or in your organization.
Who
Go
are practice
take your
educators?
time. Practice educators are the ones who know the funding that is available for what? For further education in the
Mhm.
trust. They are
Mhm.
called practice educators. They pretty much are employed to help and support healthcare
Mhm.
professionals, especially nurses and carers, to further their education. So
Beautiful.
the person in your ward, in your trust, the person to speak to is the practice. To be fair, your manager won't
They
probably
might
know.
not know
I'm being
exactly.
very
But if you
honest
ask
with
me,
you.
I'll still refer you to practice educator.
Yeah, your manager, I mean, there's a manager here now. She doesn't know exactly. So your manager will probably not know what funding is out there.
Mhm.
Take time out to go and see the practice educator, sit down with them, let them know
Mhm.
what you want to do. And
Please
they
don't
will
wait until you are a
tell
year,
you,
two, three. Don't
no,
listen to all these
they will
things.
tell you whether you
Mhm.
can do it or
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
Now, one of the major questions that people also ask me is, oh, I'm a sponsored. Okay, so let's say you came in the
Certificate
UK as a carer
from okay.
and you are sponsored by an organization to stay. You can't study nursing.
Mhm.
Let me be upfront with you. You almost can't do it because remember that your sponsorship, your stay in the UK is dependent on that sponsorship, and you have to fulfill your work hours. Nursing nursing degree in the UK is a full-time job
Mhm.
because you're going to uni and you're also going to placement. Do you understand? So you can't work. You know how a lot of students are studenting and they are working with nursing? That is not possible
It is
because
your work. You have to.
the nursing itself is work. As a student, you are a
Mhm.
worker, student, nursing
Mhm.
things.
Including the masters too. People
Yeah,
don't know. Even the masters, you
including
are
so
working.
again, let me
Like
say
it's
something
it's
very
really close.
controversial.
Mm.
So the masters and the degree and the undergrad
Mhm.
is not the curriculum is the same.
Mhm.
Do you
Interesting.
understand? The curriculum is the same. The only difference is, let me break some tables tonight. The only
Hey,
difference is
I'm ready for the
they've
violence. Bring it on.
accelerated the master's route for people who already have degrees, which is fair.
Mhm.
Do you understand? And to say, you know what, don't let us create a pathway for somebody who's already studied at a higher
Mhm.
level for them, which means that you're doing the same course, but they are writing, if you're undergrad, you're writing at level
Mhm.
6. If you're the masters, you're writing at level 7. That is
7.
the only difference. When you both qualify, you're all going to start as a band
Band
5
5.
nurse. Do you
Mhm.
see my point now?
Mhm.
So let's not be
Anyway,
too
let's come back here.
fixated on the old masters. If it is nursing, except if you're going into academia, that is where it
Mhm.
makes a whole lot of difference. But if you're going to be coming into the
Clinical.
clinical area,
Mhm.
there's not much difference. In fact, there's no difference. There's no, and that is why I keep telling people that it's high time nurses separate their license from the degree.
Mhm.
They're not the same things. For me, they're not the same things anymore because the license is a license. You
Mhm.
can't get one without the other. You
Mhm.
can't get the license without the degree.
Mhm.
but you can get the degree without the license. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
for the for the masters too. In fact, the masters is worse because it's accelerated. What they are teaching somebody in 3 years, they want to teach you in 18 months to two
It's
years. So,
crazy.
and you still, the crazy thing is, the NMC, whether you're doing master's or degree, they expect you to complete 2,800 hours
Oh, okay.
of
Interesting.
placement hours,
Ah,
right?
oh.
Before you can be licensed.
Mm-hmm.
That is a major NMC criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people that are doing BSc are completing that 2,800
Mm-hmm.
hours. You two that you
Mm-hmm.
are doing 18 months, be 2 years, you will complete that set of hours. So, which means that there's more pressure on you
Mm-hmm.
as a master student than it
And then
is
some
on
people will
undergrads.
be going on about and saying, they will not know anything. How will they not know anything?
Check
You
the
are doing the same thing.
masters. You are doing the same
Doing the
thing,
same thing.
guys.
You know
They
everything.
know, they
You
know
know.
everything. Let's
Oh,
stop this.
beautiful.
And it is not, I don't know, it is us that we keep, let's stop it. Stop doing this.
Oh, thank you so much.
Has
Thank you
this
so
been good?
much.
I don't know if has this been good.
Amazing. Do you know a lot the things I have heard today that I did not know before? My darling, it's always a delight having you.
You are owing me
Ah,
money.
they have not bought you badge. Too. If they not buy you badge, you no badge, no Benz. You guys should buy her badge if you have picked one or two things. Buy badge for her. No badge, no Benz. But I'm actually owing you like big one because we are still coming back to talk about childcare in
That's
UK.
absolutely fine.
And
In fact, like I said,
that's
I'm happy to do this every Sunday evening. Honestly.
that
Yeah.
one is eating me up because I've joined the league now. Anyway,
I
guys,
remember
let's
the
go
day you
to.
called me like 10 times. Geraldine Mapami.
Anyway, it has been so amazing. But I want us to see maybe in case we missed something, let's look at the question bank. We have our question bank here. Let's look at it and see what questions we have. I hope it's related to what we're discussing. What we've been discussing so far. Let me try and break it down, right? If you missed this session, at the beginning. I'm going to save this video. It will be on YouTube so that you can play, you can pause, you can move about in your house and listen to it. And it's also going to be on Instagram, of course, so you can watch it later. Oh my God, Paul Jackson, boy, you badge. Now I'm gonna buy you
Oh,
Benz. Thank you so much. Thank you.
thank you.
So don't worry, I'll buy you Benz now. Go and
I
price the one
dropped
latest one.
gems, Moderate.
So, what we've been discussing so far, in case you're just joining, you might have missed a lot. If you have not, you have missed a whole lot. So we've talked about, if only has talked to us about how to study nursing for free. She even gave us the history from the beginning, like how it was before, what it is now. Now, a lot of people have questions around, oh, there's a government rule that they have to set up. And for people who don't know, this is also similar to apprenticeship. If you're
It's the
doing
same
it,
thing.
it is the
It's
same thing.
actually it's the
Apprenticeship is just a big
that
grammar.
was
You are
the word
studying,
I was
you're
looking for.
learning. Oh, you're
So
studying, you're learning and you're earning because they will be
yes,
paying you. They need to be
remember the
paying you.
analogy I made that when I said I wanted to do midwifery, that
Ah,
was the
for
exact
Jackson, don't
same
bless you.
thing.
Who is for Jackson? Another batch.
Yeah.
Another
Oh,
batch for you.
thank
Let's
you,
continue.
Paul. Um,
Thank you so
it,
much.
it was a, it was called it was called midwifery
Ah,
apprenticeship.
okay.
So I
Oh,
was,
that was the
in
one you were
fact,
looking for.
the name tag said midwife
Uh-huh.
apprentice. Yeah.
So this thing is literally especially if you're already working with an
Mm,
employer as a care assistant
yeah.
or as receptionist or
Mhm, mhm,
whatever, and they are happy to fund you. You
mhm,
found out
mhm,
what
mhm,
kind of before you know if they're happy to fund you, you need to find out what kind of funding is available. So
mhm,
the same thing does not apply across all funding. There's student finance funding, there's funding from NGOs, there's
mhm,
funding from the government, there's
mhm,
funding from different places, and
mhm.
different funding requires different things for you
Can
to
I
access
bust your
them.
bubble, Mujirade?
Mm,
One of the girls in my nursing community,
mhm,
she started her master's fully funded by
mm,
NIHR. She's a clinical research nurse,
mhm.
and she doesn't have ILR. She hasn't lived in the UK for three
I
years.
like. I need to bring her. Maybe she should come and talk to them. Maybe you
And
connect
she
me
got
with.
funding. The
Maybe.
crazy thing is, at the
Mhm.
time that she wanted to apply for that funding, of course, Auntie Fair, do you think they will give me? And like, apply. What's the worst that can happen? They will say
They'll
no.
say no.
Guess what? She was the only one that applied for it, and they gave her.
Just imagine. So please, there are different kinds of. Can you see this? An NIHR
She was
funding.
able to get it because most NIHR funding will
Mm-hmm.
be for clinical research nurses or people who work within clinical research.
Mm-hmm.
So she already, for them, they don't care whether you've lived in the UK for 3 years
Mm-hmm.
or you don't
You
have
deserve
ILR.
it.
So
Take it.
long as you're working for a
Mm-hmm.
trust that is going to support that training, and so
Mm-hmm.
long as you're a clinical research practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
you've ticked the boxes that they need. So she got the
Mm-hmm.
funding. She literally got a fully funded clinical
Can you
research
imagine?
worth
So
almost 20K.
imagine. Just imagine. So there is the funding is there, and it depends on the
It is.
funding. The funding determines the requirement. The
Mm-hmm,
funding determines the criteria. So
mm-hmm.
don't listen to anyone that tells you you have to have lived in the UK for 3 years, 5 years, have ILR. Close, shut your ears to that.
If
When
you're a
people come,
dependent, if you're a
mm-hmm,
dependent of somebody who is on a sponsorship and you want to study nursing, please just explore all the options that is available for you.
mm-hmm.
Research, 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 research.
So I always tell people when you
Speak to
see
people that can
information,
hold your
mm,
hands through that process. And again, be careful who you're listening to
when you see people
because
share information online, guys, don't just take
don't
everything
just
hook,
jump on
line, and
it. Yeah.
sinker. Do your own
Do
work.
your
Don't be
due
lazy. People are
diligence. Yeah.
lazy. See,
Yeah.
people don't read. People
think
are
it's
lazy.
laziness. Yeah.
You read, you write caption. They are lazy to read it. You're like
There's
comment
still
link.
comments, and that's one of the reasons why I stopped YouTube as well. Like I've just made an entire video answering
People.
this question, and you're still asking me the same question I've answered in the
That's
video on, and I'm
why
like,
I'm
watch
like,
the
we
video.
need to start monetizing some of these things because you're not
Yeah,
even making my time worth it.
yeah,
If you're
you're
still
not.
asking me what I
Yeah.
just finished discussing, it's not easy to create content. So please, guys, go back, watch this video if you have missed it because we talked about a lot. We broke tables. Ifeolu has shed a lot of light on a lot of things that people are getting mixed up, and I would love for you to rewatch this. It's going to be my YouTube channel, NOSMJ TV, and it's also I'll save it here. Whichever one works for you, just go watch it.
Yeah,
I
and I'll
want
save
us.
it on the Safe Haven
Mhm.
community page
So
as
we have
well.
literally talked about everything. Your basic
Mm,
requirement is that if you're from a
mm,
non-clinical side,
mm.
maybe you're in the banking, you are the receptionist, and you want to get into nursing, your criteria is different because, of course, you need to probably get an MVQ. Some of these MVQs are even
Yeah.
free. Some of them don't cost over
Do you
50
know
pounds or even
do you know
lesser.
what pains
Mm,
me is that hmm, when I keep going back to the old days,
hmm.
they practically beg people to do these
Can you imagine?
things. But of course, the conservative governments are really they've
Mhm.
cut
This
down funding
conservative
for
government, we
all
need
of
to
this.
deal with them. We need to
And
deal
what
with
if
them.
they've gone now, Abby? We are now dealing with the Labour
We have
government.
to deal
They've
with them
gone,
again
thank
for
God.
all they have done in the past.
So it's
Hmm.
just pretty much, please, even if it means sitting down with a coach or a mentor that will help you to do that research
Hmm.
together, and all of those things, please just do your due diligence.
Hmm. So let's look at the question. I saw 4 questions, but I don't know why I'm seeing only 2 now. Well, anyway, let's look at this question. If it's related, I will answer it. If it's not related, we close the session. If you have question, guys, quickly, we are rounding off. If you have question, quickly drop it using the question icon now. There's an icon on your screen on the lower right corner. You'll see icon with a question mark. If you click on it, you'll be able to enter your question. Only questions in that place will be read, and any question that is not there, we just close the
Somebody
session. I believe
just asked a question in the comments in
I
the
need us to
question.
go to the yeah. So it says that this question is it possible to get a transcript and continue studying nursing as a 400 level student in Canada, or you have to start all over? Are you Richie Sugar? Are you saying you want to come to the UK to study nursing as a 400 level student that is not currently in Canada? Is that the
Yeah, can you
question?
clarify that question?
Is that the question? So you want to come into UK?
Let's
If
give
that
them
is
a
it,
minute to clarify that question.
you
Then
want to
let's
come.
move on to the next question.
You want to come to UK to study? You want to leave Canada? Ah, why are you leaving Canada? Hey, nah,
But
Canada,
but but Canada is not all that.
Canada,
Okay. It's
nah,
not.
Canada. Canada.
It's
Thank you very
not.
much for this session from Peng Woman. I just joined the live session. Beautiful. I want to ask, I have a diploma in nursing from Nigeria. Is there any route to get my bachelor's in nursing for free? She has a diploma. Do you
So
have an answer
to
for her?
answer that question, I don't think so. I don't think they're funding the pathway,
I'll
because
support you in
remember that,
answering the question.
thank
Mm,
you.
mm,
Because remember that in the UK, they always look at the benefits of whatever they are funding. It's not because they have a lot of money and they want to just spend it.
mhm,
No. For everything that they do, they need to justify the rationale behind it. So
mhm,
when they fund a particular course, it is because they believe that that skill is going to be beneficial to that
mhm,
department,
mhm,
right? If
mhm,
they fund the nursing associate course, it's because they know that when you become a nursing associate, you're coming back to increase the nurses on the ward.
mhm,
If they fund a master's in research, they believe that the knowledge that you acquire on the master's program will come to benefit the trial, the
mhm,
clinical research
mhm,
department.
mhm,
So I need you to start thinking outside the
mhm.
box. They don't just throw money away because they're good. No, it is because they want to use your skills. It's because they
Mhm,
want to go and learn this, because we know that is going to benefit us. That is why the funding
mhm,
in A&E is different from the funding in ICU. The
mhm,
funding in ICU is different from the funding in NICU. The funding
mhm,
in NICU is different from the funding on the gynecology ward. They don't have this, they don't fund the same programs
mhm,
because they are not doing the same things. So if you want to become an ANP, you probably won't get funding as an ANP on a frailty ward, because they don't need an ANP frailty ward. So why should
mhm.
we fund somebody to go
So
and
it's
do
all dependent
advanced nurse
on what is.
practitioner in a elderly care? Do you understand? So you need to, now back to your question. I laid that foundation just to
Mhm,
make my point. My point is, in fact, can I shock you? There's only two universities that does the bridge for um that does the bridge for
you should do your
um
birthday.
I think it's only two universities
What
now.
just happened now? Balloon just flew on your.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Maybe
don't know why.
someone
Just
gave you a
ignore it.
balloon.
Maybe just ignore it. There's only two universities that does the pathway for Nigerians or
Mhm,
internationally educated nurses who have diplomas to do that 1 year program where they now get a degree in nursing. And
mhm,
the reasons why these universities have done it is so that they can actually cash out. It is a symbiotic relationship where, okay, they've identified a gap,
a gap.
that there are a
Mhm.
lot of nurses
Top
from
up.
Nigeria who are diploma trained
Mhm,
and would like to pop up.
mhm.
And remember that that 1 year, the only thing you're doing is the project work and maybe some few
Majorly.
coursework here and
Majorly.
there. So the difference between somebody who did diploma and somebody who did a degree, to be honest, is the project work.
Mhm,
Do you understand? So those universities saw the gap.
mhm.
Okay, let's bridge the gap and see how much this can make us. There's no benefit to the organization if they sponsor you to go and do. Don't get me wrong,
Mm.
some very few organizations does it. I've only seen maybe one or two, because I know a care home that sponsored one of their nurses to go and do the top up. They paid
Mhm.
for it because they believe, again, they believe that if she has the degree, it will benefit their
Benefit
organization.
them.
Do you
Okay.
understand? But I'm saying that in the generic point of view, the NHS is the largest employer of healthcare professionals in the UK. Most NHS trust, I'm not saying all, because there
Mhm,
could be one or two outliers,
mhm,
but most NHS trust will not fund that program because it
mhm.
does not really add any benefit to them in any way, shape, or
Now,
form.
let
They
me just
don't,
quickly chip
because
in.
remember that even, can I shock you, even their own diploma nurses, because they used to be Project 200, I can't
Mhm,
remember what they're called now. I think it's Project 80, I can't remember. Before 2009,
mm,
nursing in the UK used to be like a 3-year diploma course like Niger. Do you understand? It was not a degree. It was a degree, but you could choose whether you want to do the diploma or you wanted to do the
Agree.
degree. It was, I think it was in 2008 or 2009 that they totally scrapped diploma and said nursing has to be a fully degree program. Do you know? So there are still a lot of older nurses in the NHS too that are diploma. Do you understand? Most of them too, they pay to top up to become, to top up.
Praise.
Although some of them get funding, but honestly, most of them don't. I've heard one or two people say they've had to pay to do that course by themselves. So for Nigerian trained nurses, I doubt. Um,
As a Nigerian trained nurse, let's quickly just round up because time has gone.
yeah,
I need to go.
sorry, yeah. So just
Yeah. So
most
another
student
thing I
nurses are
wanted
not
to,
paid on placement.
sister, leave the screen. No, we are answering questions from the question box. So
Yeah.
another thing I just want to add quickly is if you're a nurse from Nigeria, maybe you have a diploma and you want to come and do a degree in, degrees are open to you. It might not be in nursing. It might be in another health related course. It might be in research. It might be in maybe public health. It just depends. So now you have some work to do. Okay, there are universities that are able to give you scholarships. Okay, now they might not be able to give you full scholarship because scholarships are different. There is apprenticeship, of course. There's some apprenticeship that are open to international nurses. There is what's it called, there's partial funding, there's full funding, there's fellowship. They have different things that they call them. Now you need to check out you need to check out the types of scholarships and which universities are under the scholarship and what courses these universities offer. So there is this Commonwealth scholarship. I shared some scholarship recently as well. So you need to check now. The scholarship is available, yes, but that university where they're providing that funding, the full or the partial or the apprenticeship one, you need to check if nursing is under those courses. Don't wait for anyone to do all the work for you. We'll put out the information. You need to do a bit of work too. Okay, so you can get some scholarships. Now, the easiest way to get scholarship is if you have a degree already and you want to study on master's level. Yeah, I've seen people get masters in nursing scholarship. But it is easier if you have a degree. But with a diploma, it is scarce, but it doesn't mean that you cannot get it. And I'll just say this quickly that if you have a diploma in nursing, why are you not trying to come and work? Why are you not trying the work route first? Have you looked at the work route first? Because work route, I still see people who are still getting sponsored to come through the work route. And when you come through the work
Then
route,
you do your
you can
top
then,
up
yeah, you do your top up, or as you're getting your
because
training, you
they're
do your top
not
up.
going to give you a visa to come and do a 1-year course in the UK. They won't.
No, if you're doing
They
it,
won't.
most of the top ups are even, most of the
Online,
top up
the
nursing
people
are
are doing it
online.
from Nigeria.
Yeah,
I
majority
know
are
a
online.
lot of people that have done it from
Yeah,
Nigeria, literally
majority
from
are
Nigeria.
online.
So
But if you're doing the one that is not a top up, I think that one is nursing studies, something, 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 whatever it's called. This one for international students, it needs to be the one that will give you a tier 4 visa, and you are going
which
to be a
is it's
full-time
clearly
student.
stated that it's a pre-reg
You are going to be a
time
full-time
student.
student.
Yeah.
You're not going to be working and be doing something you are going
It's
to be a
hard.
full-time student.
Yeah.
That is going to bring you in. So because I have colleagues that we have a diploma, we all have a diploma, but they come in to do this international studies. It's in nursing, and they have a BSN, right? And they got tier 4 visa. Because when I was like, I don't get money to study. My father said no money. I said, no worry, let me wait and get an employer that will sponsor me, But they were spending the millions, and I'm like,
Yeah, I know. I know one or two people that came to
yeah,
do the masters before
yeah.
they now converted,
This one is
and
even
all the
this one is even BSc. This one is BSN. She came to do BSN all the way from Nigeria, a lot of money. So yes, it's there. The funding is there. You can get the funding, but you need to check in universities
yeah,
that this scholarship funding are available. Check
yeah,
those universities, then check if nursing is part of the courses that those
that
universities
they are
offer.
funding.
Because
Yeah.
some of these scholarships will say any course that is available in that university. So you get lucky if
Yeah.
nursing is part of the
Yeah.
courses
Yeah.
available in that
Yeah.
university. Okay, so I don't know what that person is talking about. That's why I don't like looking at this at the screen. I'm gonna take one more question. And what was that question that was more related? Yeah, more related to what we're talking about. How do I apply for the NVQ? For the NVQ courses.
Mm.
Did
I don't
you hear me?
know. I know. I'm just thinking, how do I answer that question?
The
Based on what we've
NVQ,
said so far,
the
how do I answer that? So
NVQ, most of them are
NVQ, you
online.
can self-fund, you can apply for it online. But like I said, speak to your practice educator wherever you're working. Speak to the person that is in charge of. There's always somebody, whether you're working in private sector or whether you're working in the NHS or regardless of, there's always somebody who knows what funding is available for certain courses. Do
I
you
don't
understand?
think I don't think NVQ you have to still get somebody to fund you because most of them are not even that expensive. You might be able to get a cheap
You
one that you
can,
can
you
even self
can,
fund online.
you can.
Read.co.uk. There's a
Some
lot of
organizations
yeah
will fund
that
the NVQ course.
NVQ. Oh,
However,
beautiful. Mm-hmm.
you can self-fund easily.
Mm-hmm.
So long as you work in health and social care
Mm-hmm.
and you have an organization where you can practice what you're being, because most of them are like, and you can't do it without working in care. You understand? You have to be a carer before you can do NVQ because they need you they need you to be working live. It's like ACP or AMP. Do you get what I mean? Like, so yeah,
I don't know
that's
if we're
that.
talking about the same NVQ.
Mm.
Maybe we are talking about different
We're not.
NVQ.
We're not.
Now, yeah, because for someone that has never been in care before,
Mhm,
and maybe they just have experience, maybe they've had
mhm.
experience previously, but it's not that deep, and they want to get into the healthcare, there's a lot of free MVQs, level one, level two, level that they can
That's
take.
what
That
I'm
is
saying.
online,
It's not
completely
called
online.
NVQ. We're
Okay.
mixing it up.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you understand? There's
Mm-hmm.
lots of courses that you can do out there, but NVQ, the word, go and research on it,
Mm-hmm.
Mujahid, and I want you to go and research on it. NVQ is different. In order for you to achieve the NVQ status, you have to be working in care. If you
Okay.
want to self-fund, thank you. CCC just said it, CPD.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones are continuous professional development courses. If
Okay.
you want to really do NVQ, you cannot do NVQ as a standalone
Okay.
without working in care. They won't
Okay.
accept you on the program itself because the major criteria is the first question they will ask you when you're applying for a national vocation qualification level 2 or level 3 course
Mm-hmm.
is, do you work in care? What is the name of your manager? They will ask you those questions because you need a supervisor on the floor
Okay.
that will supervise and look at your skill sets. Do you
Okay.
see my point?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I think you're finished. I don't want to take
Let's take a couple more, Joe. Let's
have
take the
I need my baby is out there. I need to go.
You need to
Let
go.
me
Okay,
see.
okay, okay, let me leave
Mhm.
you then.
So I think we've talked
We'll
about
come
the
back.
ACP.
We can come back next
Then
week and
I don't know if I screenshot if it's going to disturb the whole process,
mhm.
but yeah. Next week I'm taking something
Okay,
different, maybe upper week.
maybe
But
upper
those
week.
questions they might come back to you. Safe haven
That's fine. That's
community.
fine. Yeah.
You are even holding a free 1 hour free coaching session
30
all through
minutes. It's not
February.
1 hour.
Sorry,
30
30
minutes.
minutes free
Yeah.
coaching.
And again, people are not reading that thing because I said there's a £25 charge, but the
Mm-hmm.
£25 charge, if you show up, it's refundable. You will get your refund
Mm-hmm.
back. The reason why I've put it there is because people waste my time.
Exactly.
So if you don't show up and you don't send me an email or you don't tell me why you've not shown up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to refund you. But a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are not doing it
Reading.
because once they see the £25, they just, I mean, a few people have come to Yeah, Auntie Shebi, you said it's free. So I
Mm-hmm.
then explained to them that this is the reason. So if you, and I've put it, I wrote it
Mm-hmm.
there to say the reason why the 25 pound charge
For
is there is because of
my time, if you
this,
don't
and that
show
is
up.
for my time if you don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
But just to put it out there that that's the reason why the 25
Mm-hmm.
pound charge is there. But throughout February, I'm offering a 30-minute free one-to-one sessions for nurses who were job,
Mm-hmm.
please, I beg you,
Mm-hmm.
for
Okay, so you
nurses.
can take
So
advantage of
take
that if you
advantage
haven't
of that,
answered
yeah.
your questions. Follow Safe Haven Community. Check
And the
out this
link to
video.
book is in my bio in Safe Haven.
Okay,
So
it's we have joined them with their main page, Safe Haven underscore community. So go and take advantage
yeah,
of this free 30-minute session.
yeah,
Okay, and
yeah,
if you've got other questions, you can easily ask those questions. If you want to pay equivalent in naira, I'm sure she can find a way around it for
yeah.
you. So you pay equivalent in naira or even lesser than equivalent in naira,
Mhm.
just to make sure that you
Yeah,
show up, because
yeah,
time is
yeah.
money in the United Kingdom, just like what I'm doing now. This is a lot of
I've
money.
had a
I
lot of
know how
issues in the
much I make
past
in an
where
hour having a one-to-one discussion. So, but we gotta do what we gotta do for the community. So I hope you guys have picked one or two in this session. If you're yet to follow, if Safe Haven underscore community, follow Safe Haven. There's a lot of values, a lot of gems for you to pick from there. If you're yet to follow me as well, follow me. Some of your questions get answered with reels, with videos on YouTube. That's where we get our content from.
yeah,
It's from your questions you're asking, and they're like, oh, okay, let's put it out there. Okay, so you might get an answer to your question this new week that we're in.
yeah,
And if there is any other thing that you have and you're still worried about, maybe you have even answered some of your question on YouTube. So check YouTube, NOSMJ TV, check Safe Haven underscore community, follow the two pages, follow who know road so that you don't get lost. Okay.
Thanks for
And I
having me,
think we
MJ.
thank you
Thank you
so much
so
for your,
much.
we
Thank you.
appreciate you, we
Thank you.
love you. To everyone who bought the badges, thank you so much. Paul Jackson, am I correct? Thank you so much. God bless you. And we'll see you guys next time. Next time it will be a different face. Let me allow her
I
to
need to
raise.
rest.
Let me allow her to rest. Have a lovely evening,
Yes.
everyone,
Thank you.
and have a lovely week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Just bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.